Today we're going to talk about why you need to be doing full range of motion. I've recently had a TikTok go a little bit viral because I've said that you need to go right down on shoulder presses. The mistake I commonly see is the depth of reps. Go right down to your shoulders. What are you doing these half reps for? Just because you're seeing some juiced up bodybuilder do it and he's got better delts than me? Doesn't matter. I am right, not him. All the way down, all the way up, and everyone has absolutely lost the shit. People are losing their minds. People are calling me for all sorts. I'm surprised I'm not getting death threats yet, just because I'm saying go right down. Listen, I'm 34. I come from the old school where you've actually got to do a little bit of hard work. You little babies out there are all terrified of full range of motion. Oh, it's got to be active range of motion. Oh, but what about my shoulders, the earth? Shut the fuck up and go right down. Your ego lifting, that's what it is. Your ego lifting. By the way, this isn't targeted to people who have got shoulder injuries, who've got mobility problems, who've got spina bifida, anything like that. It's targeted towards people who are going too heavy than what they can actually handle, so they need the mates to lift the weight up for them. The motivation behind me talking about range of motion is because I see a lot of lads all the time and they'll be doing, say, shoulder press. We'll talk about shoulder press because that's what the original video was based on, but I see a lot of lads and they'll be doing like 10 kilogram dumbbells right the way down, then they'll move to 20 right the way down, then they move to 30s and they go a little bit less, and then they move to 40s, and then they go on here, and then they move to 50s, and then all of a sudden they're up there. Every single rep range of motion should be exactly the same right across the board, regardless what weight you're using. Just because you go heavier on the weight does not mean that you should now not go as low on your reps. So that's why I wanted to talk about range of motion. Let's get into it. So first off, what is range of motion for any beginners out there? It's simply the range that a muscle goes through. So if we're talking about the biceps, here is the end of range of motion here, where the bicep's in the longest position. Well, back here, and then here is the shortest position of the bicep. This is a full range of motion. That's all it is. And I, Shaun Jones, I'm here to explain why full range of motion is better for strength and hypertrophy, muscle gain.
Quick little interjection for any of you haters out there who want to say, well, you don't look like you're in shape, you haven't got a lot of muscle, why would I listen to you? At the time of recording this video, I was sick, okay? Here I am with the excuses, but I was sick. I had freaking COVID, I had a freaking headache for 6 months. I was all over the show, but here is a picture of what I actually look like. Here's an accurate representation, just to show you the proof that I kind of know what I'm talking about. Alright, back to the video. Don't be a hater.
First off, we have the activation of your muscle fibers. If we're doing bicep curls and we just go to here, we're not activating all the muscle fibers. It's important that we go through the full range of motion so we can activate all of the muscle fibers. We also know that when a muscle has got tension through it and you go into a stretched position, there's more and more research coming out now than ever before. So the more time we spend in a stretched position with the muscle under tension, the more growth that we're going to get. So by you staying away from the stretched position means that you're going to get less growth. Now, for those of you out there who can't actually get full range of motion, so if we're going back to shoulder press or dumbbell press, for example, let's say you can only get the dumbbells down to here. The reason you can only get the dumbbell down to here is either due to pre-existing injury, so you've hurt yourself from probably bad technique, some sort of muscle imbalance or muscle weakness, or weakness in the end range, meaning that your muscles aren't strong down here, and that's why you're going to injure yourself, because you haven't spent enough time strengthening this stretched position. The muscle is at its most vulnerable point when it's in its completely stretched position. So if we're talking about shoulders, when the shoulder is here, that's when it's at its most vulnerable point. When we're doing a bench press and we're here, this is when the chest is at its weakest position. If you never strengthen the weakest position of a movement, you are going to be weak through that weakest position of the movement, and then you get injured, and then you come on my TikTok and say that I'm wrong. You're being a bitch, you're training wrong, you're lifting with too much ego. You need to lift less and do full range of motion. So we know the more range of motion that you put a muscle through, the more muscle you are going to build. If we're talking about bench press, the further distance that bar travels, the more muscle we are going to build. If you want to build more muscle, it's good to do more volume. We know that. And your volume is going to be increasing if the bar is traveling a bigger distance over time. For example, if you're doing bench press or shoulder press and you're only going halfway down, you're doing half reps over the next year, I'm going to beat you in terms of muscle gain and strength if I'm doing full reps. And once again, don't start saying that stuff about, well, I've got more muscle than you anyway. I mean, it's relative to the individual. If you take two twins, twin A is doing half reps, twin B is doing full range of motion reps, twin B is going to build more muscle, and I will argue that he's going to have less injuries because he is getting stronger through the entire range, not just through the partial range. Now I hear other people talking about, yeah, Shaun, but people who play sports need to do partial reps. I'm also going to argue against that as well, because if you're playing a sport, let's just talk about MMA or kickboxing, so something that I do. If I want to get more power in my lower body, is there any point me going right the way down in a squat if I'm never really replicating that in kickboxing? Some people would say, no, you don't need to go right down on squats just because you're never doing it in the sport itself. But if you ever find yourself in a position where you have to do that, you're going to be weak in that area. So my point being is that you're only strong in the ranges that you train. So it's important, even if you're doing sports that can sometimes be unpredictable, that you get strong through the entire range. So don't come at me with that whole sport specific crap as well. But we're saying that it's okay to get someone to help you lift the dumbbell up here. My argument against that is if you're only lifting a heavy weight from here and then getting someone else to help you lift the weight, you're not truly getting strong in this position. There's a lot of people out there who can lift the 60s, the 70 kilogram dumbbells, boom, boom, like that, and do it themselves. So when you come at me and say, oh yeah, Eddie Hall doesn't lift them himself, okay, well done. You're saying that the world's strongest man doesn't lift them himself. That's one person, but there's so many other bodybuilders, powerlifters, and strongmen out there who lift the dumbbells themselves. So it's often I see if someone needs help getting the dumbbell up here, usually they end up doing reps here. Now, if we look at where my hands are, you're literally at your head. You're not even at your ears. So my argument is to try and get right the way down and get strong in this position. People said on my last video, oh yes, you know, it's okay doing that with the 20s. Can you do that with the 40s? Well, let's have a look then, shall we? I haven't warmed up. My personal best on these is 44s. These are the 40s. Let's see if I've got it. And I'm sick. I've got long COVID. I've got sinusitis. I've got it all. And I'll still be able to kick them up myself. I hope so anyway. 1, 2, in position. Hey, there we go, that's it. I've got the strength myself. See, touch. There we go. And hey, see, hey, is that so hard? Skinny guy like me, pressing the 40s. Can you do that? You big juice bomb. Yeah, I'm joking. Full range of motion, guys. And what I advocate for is a lighter weight and getting strong through the entire range. As I say, if you can't do the entire range, probably because of an injury or mobility issue or muscle imbalance, or the majority of the time, ego. So there you go. Full range of motion. It matters for strength and muscle. Judge the information, not the individual. I am right. And that is the video. Let me know if you like this style of video where it's a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more me, this one. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe down below. Let me know what you want to see next. I've got loads of cool stuff in the description of this video as well, and I'll see you on the next one.